So, welcome back. So, I wanted to go over spatial intelligence, which comes from my first book, Research Based Bilingual Instruction. Um, I wanted to read a little bit because I do always like to give a little bit of background in terms of how spatial intelligence works and with research and data. So, when a teacher engages EL students' spatial intelligence skills, they develop a stronger acuity for learning the English language. This is not a conscious skill for ELs. They use the language that they hear the most, and when they are not using activities that engage spatial intelligence, they begin going back to English that is not clear or missing words and the basics of sentence structure. So, Madcore from 2009 stated that individuals, including architects, engineers, graphic writers, or chess players, demonstrate spatial intelligence. Individuals who use spatial intelligence can create models of different dimensions in art, science, music, or learning the foreign language. This method of learning helps ELs foresee how words and language look and sound like so they can practice using them in their academic lives. Madcore from 2009 also asserted that students use the visual spatial intelligence to analyze the grammatical aspects of the language through employing different visual tools. So, ELs improve how they write outlines and short essays using mind maps. Using spatial intelligence also helps in instructing ELs to plan their writing and use visuals to form English words and sentences in a way that shows competence and acquisition of the English language. So, according to another researcher named Fu, two teachers took some pictures of food and uploaded them to their school website, helping ESL students and their parents understand the meanings of foods with visual aids. These examples manifested that both teachers understood only when a word was associated with experience. People were then able to develop corresponding thoughts of the language and then use the word appropriately. They chose pictures as tools to help ESL students gain experience what the word referred to and construct meaning for the word. So, in other words, by engaging K 12 EL students' spatial intelligence to help them learn vocabularies and comprehend sentences, they are then able to construct meaning. This strategy helped EL students construct and visualize words in a meaningful visual context so they could use them correctly in academic contexts. So, using spatial intelligence when teaching English learners is very effective. Using visuals, using helping them understand, you know, the dimensions of a word or concept is very helpful for them to sort of put things in context. I know that I use visuals constantly in my classroom. I either show them pictures, I have them Google the images so they get an idea of what these concepts mean. It's very helpful and very effective. So I wanted to go on and quote Andrab and Ruhi from 2014. They argue that the role of spatial intelligence, particularly in the process of language learning, is of significance because this type of intelligence renders form, space, color, line, and shape salient to learners. At the same time, it features the ability to graphically represent some visual or spatial ideas. So it allows ELs to acquire the English language by using space, colors, and shape to help them see the words and sentences they are learning visually and graphically. So it's very important to, when you're teaching English learners, in other words, when you're teaching English learners, you need to show them different ways that these concepts are represented. You can show them, pictures, obviously, movies of how these concepts are used. Um, Anything you can to help them visualize how what you're trying to teach them are applied. I know I love using the internet. I have them Google images or I show them images or even sounds. I let them hear the sounds just to help them sort of, get an idea of, what the concept means or what the word means or what you're trying to teach them means. You can start the lesson with an opening activity showing them the, concepts from the lesson you're teaching them, in different ways, in different forms, so it really sinks in for them. And then you can go into how you're, whatever it is that you're going to teach them, sentence structure, um, writing paragraphs, and sort of helping them understand how words come together. And then you can close out the activity by having them practice the skills that you taught them. It is very effective, and it does take time. You may need to reteach this lesson a few times to help them, really get the idea. But it is very helpful for English learners. Any type of, images you can show them from their phone, from the internet, drawing. You can have them draw the images as well, so that you make sure that they understand what the terms are. So all of those things are very helpful. English learners are very multilingual learners are very intelligent. They're very smart. They know, they want to learn. They're motivated, and they're willing to put in the work with whatever you give them. And so, we just want to make sure that we're giving them every opportunity to grasp the concepts you're teaching them, so that they're successful in your classroom and in other classrooms. And so it is very helpful. And if you have colleagues that are struggling with multilingual learners, you can share these strategies with them to assist and support them in when they have multilingual learners in their classrooms. But I would say that visuals, spatial intelligence and spatial intelligent teaching is very effective. I know I also teach credit recovery, and it's they're online, so they're watching videos, they're looking at images, they're seeing how these concepts are being used in videos and being discussed, so it's very helpful. And most of my students are very successful in the classroom when they're trying to learn these concepts, so it's very helpful. So that's a little bit of information on spatial intelligence. And I just wanted to close out by quoting another researcher. Jacobson, Lapp, and Flood explained that the more opportunities English learners have to encounter, interact with, and practice new words, the more secure they will be in successfully managing the intricacies of the semantics of the English language. Eventually, students will begin to internalize these words and use them to communicate their daily ideas and the academic concepts they wish to express. In other words, ELs should be allowed to learn English using multiple modalities such as visuals, graphics, pictures, and so on. And the more exposure that your students have to anything you're trying to teach them, it could be for math, it could be for history, it could be, all of those different content areas, the better able they will retain the information. I know for me personally, I like to read history, and not everything sinks in with me. So I'll read a book, but then I'll watch a documentary, and then sometimes I'll look it up in the news, and I'll read different news articles, and it'll help me, confirm my understanding of whatever historical events or whatever events I'm trying to learn about, and it's very helpful. And so, we want to give our students every opportunity to understand what we're teaching them. And I know time is of essence, but I think you can spend a week or two on the theme that you're trying to teach students in different ways. And we talked about bodily movements. Have them act it out. Have them practice. Have them talk it out. Have them deal with it in different ways that they feel comfortable. And and you're sticking with the standards. You're sticking with everything that the district wants you to stick with, but you're using your academic freedom to help students sort of learn the concepts. Multilingual learners are very, they're they're wonderful students. You know, bilingual learners, English learners, all students are wonderful, but the more you practice with what you're teaching them, the more successful they will be. And it does take a lot of patience. And that is something I think I pride myself on, is patience with students. I do have a lot of patience with students that are, you know, willing to put the work in and the effort in. I'm one walking resource for first for them. And so, you know, I love teaching and I love helping students succeed and I love helping them, you know, thrive, and I love seeing them, you know, when they go off to college and work independently. Ultimately, that's what you want them to do, is to be independent learners. And so that's all. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your views. And thank you for thank you for just listening to what I have to say. But you know, there's more to come. And yes, I am planning on doing interviews with prominent people in education that deal with this on a day-to-day basis, or deal with policy, deal with, you know, and the obstacles that they have to go through to sort of get what they need out there. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful week, and happy Labor Day. Take a day off. Don't be like me. I work constantly trying to think of ways to, you know, to get my ideas out there. Anyway, have a great day. Bye-bye.